I'm back, John. This is video number 2. So I've been over to the grinder. I flaked off the rest of this blade, and now I've been to the grinder. And you can see I've ground the ridges down. You want your flaking edge to be lower than this edge. A flake naturally travels over a convex surface. So if you get you a good even surface here, making sure that your flaking edge is lower and is still good and square there, you should have success. Sometimes when you get to this point, when you're in the middle of the blade and you're on the hand pad, you gotta make sure not to squeeze that too hard. You could put bending stresses on the rock and your flake could shoot and just split that blade right in half. Sometimes if the blade is very thin, or the slab was thin to begin with, I'll just grab a piece of leather like this, just a piece of soft hide that's folded up, and I'll actually do the flaking this way, so there is no gap there, and there's no bending stresses on the rock. But anyway, same process here as before. Some light abrading. Make sure that your flaker bites good and gets a good grip on your flaking edge. You'll also notice that little ridge line right there going up to the point. I always make sure that it's like that on both sides of my knife, because when you have a ridge line like that, the flake is naturally going to travel to that line and terminate just slightly beyond it. It's not likely to travel over it and back down. So this will help you to line your flakes up right smack in the middle of that line and give you a good looking ridge line in your flakes. So same concept, less pressure. I always put my finger on the back edge of that for support, and I'm pushing into my finger. Again, not starting at the very tip. I'm starting about a quarter of an inch away from the tip, and I will get the tip later. I'm just going to push in and down. You can see that only went as far as that line that I was telling you about. We're going to carry on. It's not releasing. Don't force it. Just give it another little bit of abrasion. Give it another go. That did the trick. You can see how those are turning out. But really nice, really nice. And you asked me before about how do I get them so thin. A lot of people that do this method, they only try to remove the scarred area from the grinder. I'm actually still shooting into the middle. I'm going to remove this ground area and then some, because I still want my flakes to line up as best as possible. You don't always get that result, but you can try. Do your best, and just makes it look better when you're done. And just remember, don't squeeze it too tight on that hand pad. You don't want to break the slab in half, because then you're going to wind up with a little tiny skinning blade, and that's just not cool. More abrasion here. John, I've been looking into those flutes you make. Those things are really cool. I'm gonna try to make one myself. I really enjoy those instruments. They sound great, super relaxing. Right here I may have rolled over too far on the grinder like I was telling you, and kind of rounded my flaking edge off there a little bit. It's giving me a little bit of trouble. Of course, it's right in the middle of the slab where you're most likely to snap it. We're just going to be real careful. Downward pressure, roll the wrist off. That's all there is to it. Now, you know there are other ways of doing this without the grinder. I've done it some. It's not my favorite way. It's time consuming, you know. But if you're out on a camping trip and you don't have electricity, it's good to know. Of course, you can hand braid it, but that would take you a month of Sundays. And I don't have that kind of patience. We're getting to the end here. Again, I'm going to skipping the tip, skipping the butt. But you can see there what our result is starting to look like. And those are shot in about halfway. Now we're going to try to meet them in the middle. If you get in a hurry and you skip a braiding, it's not a huge deal, but it's really worth it to take the time and just do it real quick. You know, the oils on your hands get into that edge and can make it slick. Can cause you problems when you're trying to flake. And it's just worth it to go ahead and do it. And I'm using my legs here. I'm not really applying too much force, but it does help me kind of control the flaker and control the pressure and all those factors that go into releasing a flake. So I'm not just kind of digging into it and running the risk of snapping that rock for no reason. I kind of feel like I'm rambling here, but it's I feel weird if I'm not talking, so just ignore me. Moving right along. I really don't want to rush this for the sake of the video, but I don't want you to have to sit here and watch this monotonous stuff. I'm getting there. I'll finish this at, side up and let you see it. Then I will go and do the next step and put that in the third and final video for you, and you'll be able to, you know, go back and watch this. Okay. Now I'm going to hit that little bit of the tip. I'm going to hit that last flake, and it should carry down that angle there. Sometimes when I'm cutting my slabs, I don't put that angle there, because like you did with that last blade, you can always go back in there and you can work your own groove into the edge of the blade. Sometimes it gives me a better flake pattern if I don't cut that angle there. But you can see it went down. It took almost all of that off, but anyway, look at that pattern. Pretty smooth. And by the time I get done, it'll be good and thin. So I'm going to flake the other side, If I don't break it, I'll go back to the grinder, show you how to do the edge work.